I will go through all of today's Tesla stock news. Let's start with something that suggests that the launch of Cybertruck is now imminent. Probably. As others have shown, reservation numbers for the Cybertruck that start with 112 have lost their configuration details and are not able to be edited. I ordered a dual motor in November of 2019, edited to a tri-motor a few months later, and now you cannot see the configuration anymore. But his 113 order still shows specs, but is also not able to be edited. Something is happening. Many other people are also commenting very similar things. Here is, for example, a reservation number that starts with 113, and then, by the way, you have many more numbers after that, so it's just the beginning of these three numbers here. But even with these different numbers, it still shows up like this. Order details are missing. Here's another one. Warren is also experiencing a similar thing. It is all over now. There are tons of people with such experience now. If you remember, days and weeks before the Model 3 was officially announced, there were supposedly some glitches on Tesla's website that they're indicating that something is happening, and this seems awfully familiar. Very similar to that. So I say this is fairly good proof that the Cybertruck release is imminent. Most likely, probably. Good Tesla stock news here. Giga Austin seems to have now fully reopened, and two new Cybertrucks were also just spotted. Joe called these two Cybertrucks master candidates, and he says that internally, employees call these Cybertrucks master candidates. He says that in a video today, he will explain what that is, so I'm going to wait for that video to come out. Troy just posted a chart showing how his estimates have changed this quarter. Troy's final update will be later this week, probably on Friday, and this last update here, I think still probably assumed that some refresh Model 3s would be delivered, because really we only found out at the end of last week that, yeah, we are not going to have any refresh Model 3s delivered within China. So I would expect to have this estimate come down as a final estimate. I haven't seen his latest one from today. I will check that later, but his final one, I think, is going to come down even further. Gary says that investors shouldn't fret that analysts haven't reduced their Q3 delivery estimates yet because of the refresh Model 3 not being available in Europe. So there's no Model 3 at all in Europe pretty much anymore, and therefore the sales in China are also lower. He thinks that basically it's already priced in, and we will know the most recent and actual accurate estimates once Tesla publishes the consensus later this week. Interestingly, EV Volumes, a credible third-party trade source, has posted a Tesla Q3 delivery estimate of 480,000 versus 466,000 in Q2, with details below. It would be great to actually see this happen, but I think it's unlikely. This clip shows that the Cybertruck can actually fit in a pretty tight garage. As you can see, it's actually backing into a garage. Tesla reportedly doubles Dojo D1 supercomputer chip order with TSMC. According to a report from the Economic Daily, Tesla is doubling its order for this year from 5,000 to 10,000 units of the D1 supercomputer chip, which serves as the heart of their Dojo supercomputer. That is just for this year, with Tesla expected to order even more of the D1 chips in 2024 and into 2025. News that these increased order volumes came from a source that is basically neither TSMC nor Tesla. So it's still safer to say that this is a rumor. What is clear is that Tesla is expanding Dojo, and that is good for Tesla's future, because solving full self-driving will be faster if Tesla has its own powerful supercomputer. A famous politician in the US, AOC, owns a Tesla Model 3, which Cars.com ranks as the #1 overall most American-made vehicle in the US. There isn't a union-made all-electric sedan or SUV made by Ford, GM, or Stellantis that even cracks the top 100 on that list. And yet, with the UAW strike in full swing, AOC said she will be trading in her Tesla for a union-made electric vehicle soon. If I had to trade in my own Tesla to get some other EV, I would also make this exact face. I see so much pain on this face. Also, many EVs made by American companies are actually made in Mexico. For example, the Ford Mach-E. So she might have a hard time finding one that is actually made in America. Ford said on Sunday that despite progress in some areas, it still has significant gaps to close on key economic issues before it can reach a new labor agreement with the UAW union. And so the strike continues. Everything Now just said something that I think is going to come true eventually. I predict an Optimus store where Optimus owners will be able to unlock new skills for the robot. Need a sushi chef? No problem. Buy it on the Optimus store. Need a plumber? There's a skill, not an app for that. Instead of app developers, the store will be used by skilled developers who have trained Optimus with the necessary amounts of data. Optimus can't come with an infinite amount of skills out of the box, so this feature is inevitable and very exciting. I think being a skilled developer and an app developer is going to be relatively similar, and that's something that actually I would be somewhat interested in. Jim Fan had a few words to say about the Tesla bot. He is a senior AI scientist at NVIDIA. He also worked at OpenAI, so this is not someone who is speaking without any knowledge of AI. The smooth hand movements are almost certainly trained by imitation learning, behavior cloning from human operators. The alternative is reinforcement learning in simulation, but that typically leads to jittery motion in unnatural hand poses. For instance, a demonstrator can wear a cyber glove and grasp the cubes on the table as shown in the video of that Tesla bot. CyberGlow will capture the motion signals and haptic feedback in real time, which can be retargeted onto Optimus. Alternatively, he also says that you can just feed a video clip of the person doing it and it might also be able to figure it out. Or they could use a virtual reality headset to basically role play Optimus, where someone pretends to be the robot and basically they remotely control everything, and then the bot learns. There's also a lot of techie and nerdy stuff in here. I'm going to skip most of it, but feel free to pause and read all of that previous text if you like to. But basically, he's very genuinely impressed by the hardware quality. The motions are fluid. Atlas from Boston Dynamics only has simpler gripper style hands. In the long run, Optimus by dexterous 5-finger hands will prove far superior in daily tasks. I thought about this a little bit more. Some investors are scared in the long term that maybe Elon is no longer as focused on Tesla because he's now running Twitter/X. But I think, especially if SpaceX is very successful and the rockets get better and the rockets are able to fly to Mars, I think Elon will focus a lot more on Tesla and especially on the robot Optimus, because you will need the bot to build everything on Mars. And to make Optimus bot work right now, you sort of need to make full self-driving work. So I think Elon Musk is not going anywhere until the bot actually works fairly well and can actually build stuff. So I really like seeing this progress. Here's an explanation why Wall Street is not excited at all about the Tesla bot. They are not going to see the value in it because they have actual engineering experts who know this is a standard class project for engineering undergrads that's been around for 15 years. Multi-millionaire all-in Tesla stock investor Jason replies to that post. He says, "This is the funniest post I have read in a while. Posts like these show the upside potential in Tesla stock because it proves that even seemingly intelligent technologists don't see the innovation. If even the people who are most likely to see the innovation refuse to see it for lack of interest, competitive threat, job, security, ego, etc., that's opportunity." I fully agree with that. Very few are willing to truly see what's going on, and they might even fight it with nonsensical arguments like this one. You know what this reminds me of? Washing hands. Robert Greene in his book Mastery has this very interesting chapter about how doctors absolutely refused to wash their hands despite the evidence initially that washing hands actually makes patients less sick. They refused to wash their hands for many years until it was abundantly clear that you absolutely have to wash your hands before you do, let's say, surgery. It absolutely baffled me when I first read it because I just could not believe it. How someone who works in the field sees the evidence and then refuses to wash their hands. You would think it wouldn't be too difficult to convince the doctors to do this experiment at least. Okay, wash your hands for a month, 2 months, and let's see how our hospital performs compared to another hospital that doesn't have this policy where doctors have to wash their hands. I can understand why someone would be of an opinion that the Tesla bot is not coming anytime in the near future. I fully respect that and I understand that. But to think the same about full self-driving, I think is a bit different. I think it's absolutely obvious at this point that full self-driving is coming. Now, we can have an argument about how much Tesla will benefit from this technology, but I think it's ridiculously obvious that it is coming. I mean, Waymo actually does have robotaxis already. They are just not making any money at all. They're actually losing a lot of money because LiDAR is extremely expensive. I also saw a lot of Tesla bears say that the video that Tesla just put out about the Tesla bot is fake. Completely fake, full CGI, computer generated, stuff like that. So obviously it's fraud, right? I mean, Tesla's only hiring a few people that will work on the Tesla bot. And I don't think Tesla is just hiring 50 more people. These are 50 different positions, and for each position, I think for some of them, you can hire many people. So yeah, definitely not fraud. Dave Lee is staying fully invested in Tesla stock. In the meantime, investors don't pay for aspiration. There needs to be something tangible. Wall Street doesn't pay for aspiration. That's why there are so many retail millionaires now from Tesla stock. Once you have 1 million humanoid robots, making 1 billion humanoid robots is trivial, to which Elon Musk said, yeah. I think in the very, very long term, as long as Elon stays within Tesla, Tesla will make a lot of money from the bot. The question that I ask myself is, when will it happen? Will it happen in the next 20 years? Or will we start seeing it happening in the next 10 years? I think 20 years is probably a relatively safe bet that we will start seeing some significant revenue from the Tesla bot, but 10 years, I'm not sure about that. Here's one way to think about it. Tesla has started working on the full self-driving problem a long time ago, and let's say it solves it in the near future. Well, roughly it will have taken Tesla 10 years to solve the problem. Now, if you think about, let's say, a construction worker, I think being a good construction worker is probably more difficult than driving. And it's certainly easier to collect a lot more data of people driving than it is to collect data of good construction workers working. So the Tesla bot is something that's very interesting to me, and I need to think about it a lot more. But even without the Tesla bot, there's still so much potential for Tesla stock, which is why my whole stock portfolio is in Tesla stock. You can see my Tesla stock assumptions if you sign up for my Patreon by clicking on the link in the description. Seems like Tesla is so far successful in Turkey. I assume this 8,000 number is the number of deliveries year to date. Tesla entered Turkey's market recently. An Audi e-tron EV is asking for an oil change and inspection. This is ridiculous. This problem has been around for 6 years now and it has not been fixed yet. This tells you everything that you need to know about how serious Volkswagen overall is about their EV transition. Volkswagen owns Audi. A sticker on a Tesla says, I bought this before we knew Elon was crazy. If Elon wasn't crazy, that person probably would not have ever bought an electric vehicle. You need someone crazy to start a revolution. We now know exactly what name Elon is going to give to his next child. I'm going to name my son Physics. Then I will be the father of physics. I fully agree with Dave Lee here, 100%. Viewing your stocks as liquid money often leads to emotional stress during market swings. Thinking of them as long-term ownership stakes in companies refocuses your attention on the business itself. Your ownership percentage does not change daily, even if the stock price does. That's one of my tricks. That's why I got more and more excited as Tesla stock dropped further and further at the end of last year. I had no idea about this, but this makes so much sense now. Did you know that Mary Barra, the CEO of GM, was invited by Michelle Obama to the State of the Union address in 2014 and was one of Hillary Clinton's possible vice president candidates? No wonder Mary Barra acts like a politician. She basically is one, or at least certainly She could have been one. Elon Musk says the Boring Company could reach $1 trillion in valuation by 2030, barring one problem. This is based on the conversation between Warren Redlick and Elon Musk on X/Twitter, and that one problem is permits, getting permits. Construction is becoming practically illegal in North America and Europe, and the measly incremental subway or surface train construction that has been done in recent years cost over $1 billion per mile. That $1 trillion prediction is based on Warren's prediction of how much the Boring Company would be worth, but I don't see anywhere where Elon actually said that himself. He just agreed with some of these things that technologically could be achieved. So Elon thinks that technologically it is possible to dig tunnels much faster, but he didn't say anything about the valuation. So it appears to me that maybe Drive Tesla Canada misinterpreted the conversation. Tesla launched Powerwall in May 2015. In May 2021, Tesla announced that it had installed 200,000 Powerwalls globally. In June 2023, Tesla announced that it had installed 500,000 Powerwalls globally. They installed 200,000 in the first 6 years, 91 per day, and then did 300,000 more in the following 2 years, 410 per day. No reason to believe this rate won't at least double in the next 2 years to 820 per day. That would be 600,000 more Powerwalls by June 2025. At $8,500 per unit, that's about $5 billion in revenue and probably $2.5 billion in profit. I, however, in the long term, don't expect that Tesla would be able to sustain 50% profit margins. But in my valuation model, I do project that Tesla's energy will be a huge business in the long term. You may see some of my expectations if you sign up for my Patreon. I had the opportunity to tour both of Tesla's factories in North America this year. The differences between Austin and Fremont are massive. To start, Tesla has done an excellent job making the limited space in Fremont work. The free and wide lines are extremely compact and churning cars at an insane rate. Austin is much more organized, less twists and turns between stages of production is the biggest difference. Cars have to travel far less between stages of production. The factory also feels much more open thanks to the higher ceilings. In other words, if Tesla really wanted or had to improve margins, and eventually as Tesla opens many more factories, it can eventually just shut Fremont down if it really wants to, or tear the whole thing down and then rebuild from scratch. One thing that surprised me at Fremont is seeing how many steps are involved to install the Falcon Wing doors in the Model X. Impressive Tesla managed to scale production with these doors. Fremont also relies heavily upon parts and materials that are shipped in from other factories, including Tesla's Gigafactory in Nevada. Austin has virtually everything under one roof, with little need for parts to be shipped in. So there's a lot of room to improve the cost structure in the future for Tesla. Jeff says, I keep hearing people talk about the big three getting bailed out in the future tense or asking if it will happen or not, but he thinks it's already happening. He says that $27.2 billion went to the big three, Ford, GM, and Stellantis in the last year from the Department of Energy, so the federal government. But so far, it hasn't really been enough. I mean, their EV transition is not really exactly smooth. Their losses are still astronomical. SpaceX has announced that there are now over 2 million active Starlink customers, up 500,000 from 4 months ago. It's now available on 7 continents and in over 60 countries. I think we might get a chance to actually invest in Starlink in maybe not the near future, but in the medium to long term, I think we will have that chance. Here's what Elon said about 3 years ago. We will probably IPO Starlink, but only several years in the future. And it has been several years now. When revenue growth is smooth and predictable, public market does not like erratic cash flow. I'm a huge fan of small retail investors who will make sure they get top priority. You can hold me to it. We actually have a Starlink satellite and it works great. You can have internet access basically anywhere you go and it works very well. And unless someone else can beat SpaceX, I think Starlink will do very well. So if Starlink becomes a publicly traded company, I might consider investing. I see more and more people say that they do like the yoke a lot. For example, James Dama says, for me it took weeks to not feel weird. 3 months to be quite comfortable, and 6 months to feel totally normal. This is after 45 years of round wheels. I love it. Never going back to round, he says. One of my best friends has had a Model X now for about 9 months with a yoke, and he still dislikes it. But it's not really the yoke that he dislikes. I think it's just the shifting the gears without the stock. Is the Cybertruck going to have ambient lighting in the bed? That's pretty cool. Maybe in the future, the Cybertruck will also be able to change colors just like this dress. We have slightly less than 1 week left now until the end of Q3, and this is how Tesla sales in the daily reporting markets look compared to Q2 in Europe. And this is all of these countries combined into one chart. You can see that we are slightly behind, mostly because there's no more Model 3. James just researched other humanoid robots, and here are his findings, how they compare to the Optimus bot from Tesla. There are 2 competitors. This one, for example, is from Boston Dynamics, and it has these lobster-like hands. And everything, by the way, is programmed, which is very unlike what Tesla is doing with end-to-end. The other competitor is from PAL Robotics, this robot. James shared this chart, and it reveals a lot of information. You can see when the robots were unveiled, and Tesla only unveiled theirs just recently compared to these other ones. Tesla's robot is slightly taller than the one from Boston Dynamics, and pretty much it's the same height as this other one. In terms of weight, it is by far the lightest one, which is, I think, important. Carrying capacity per hand, 9 kilograms when it comes to Tesla. 6 kilograms here, and at least 8 kilograms over here. All right. Max walk speed, 8 kilometers per hour. And the other ones, this one is pretty slow. The Boston Dynamics one is pretty fast, but this is where it really gets interesting. Degrees of freedom, meaning in how many different ways can it move? Tesla's robot has 200 degrees of freedom, and actually more than that, while the other 2 don't have that many degrees of freedom. That's a very big difference. Degrees of freedom when it comes to the hand, Tesla has 11, and then 1 here and only 1 here. Fingers, Tesla's robot has 5, this one has 3, and then this one only has 2. It's like a lobster. And when it comes to the battery size, Tesla really shines here. If you look at the battery life, it's supposed to be 1 full day with just 2.3 kilowatt hours. This one only has a 1 kilowatt hour battery and can only walk for 1.5 hours. And the Boston Dynamics one, only 1 hour. Now, of course, I think how long will the battery last will highly depend on what the robot is actually doing, but it's very clear that Tesla will have a huge advantage over its energy consumption and efficiency. But price will matter a lot, and Tesla's robot will be the cheapest option out of these 3 options at least. Elon Musk just tweeted this picture showing the decline and fall of the Roman Empire book series. It seems to me that Elon thinks that the US is also heading in this direction, and that perhaps it is falling and slowly collapsing. This is the biggest and most impressive light show I've ever seen with Teslas.
After being by Musk's side for almost 3 years, I felt, and sort of half-jokingly, that I knew more about Musk than he knew about himself. And it's certainly true, I knew more about him than I knew about myself. Musk has the curiosity of all great innovators, but he has something added, which is a maniacal intensity and passion. This idea that he's on a sense of mission. It's almost a mission from heaven to make us an interplanetary species. It sounds weird, but that's what's really driving him. Musk has a whole lot of fervent fanboys, and he's got a whole lot of really bitter enemies. And I hope all sides take away just the idea that he's all too human and very complex.
Tinder has rolled out an ultra premium subscription tier to its dating app users, charging $499 per month to access features like exclusive search and matching. This is a bit off topic, but so many people were commenting about this, saying this is ridiculous. Gary says $499 per month for an ultra premium dating app. That's a bit absurd, but I can still go to a nice bar for free. I never liked going to any bars. I drink exactly 0 alcohol. I never drink. And also going to a bar is not really free, is it? You have to buy drinks. When I was single, I did use dating apps and it was such a waste of time for the most part. If I could have spent more money to waste just, let's say, 10 minutes per day instead of 1 hour per day, I would have made that choice. But I was already making quite a bit of money, so to me, that would have made sense. To most people, that would make no sense at all. Some Tesla bears say that this is fake, because if you look at how that blue cube moves, it might appear that it's very unnatural and that it is fake. In my new Patreon exclusive video, I break down exactly what happened. By joining my Patreon, you will get access to how much I think it is fair to pay per Tesla share each year between 2023 and 2033. If you sign up for the investor tier of support, you will also get my valuation model of Tesla stock with a 45-minute video walkthrough. And YouTube says you should watch this video next, but if you haven't finished watching this discussion with Elon Musk about the future, I highly suggest that you watch this one first. My name is Matt Posius. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.